What's up, North County? I'm your host, Randy Doty, and we are in a new segment called What's Up North County Locker Room. And today on the show, we have Vic Cooper with the Atascadero Greyhounds. Vic, welcome.
Thank you, Randy. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so we haven't talked in several weeks, right?
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
And so the last we talked, you guys were fixing to take on Bishop Union, right?
Washington Union.
Washington Union. Sorry, Washington Union.
Yeah.
And so you guys had a great run. You guys went undefeated in season and looked to be like playoffs were in your favor, huh?
It was, that was the direction we were heading for sure. But hey, playoffs are tough. Just getting there is pretty damn good, but we didn't do what we wanted to do to finish it off, but good season.
And yeah, in Washington they came to play. I mean, they came to play, and you guys had a second half win.
They came in like they had nothing to lose, and they didn't. They did a great job.
Well, like I said, obviously, hats off to you. Hats off to the season. There's nothing that, you could do right, do wrong. It is what it is. And, you had a fabulous season, so congrats on that.
It was. A lot of great kids, a lot of great efforts put out there, and the season didn't end the way we wanted to do. And all those kids that had experience in a pretty good season the year before. So I know that they were disappointed, but you win. The system is now you win, and you're going to move up, and we'll see how far you can go. And while I don't think that playoff game represented really what the team we had could do, we're very proud of those guys and the effort they put in and kind of bringing back Atascadero football.
Well, like any weekend, any Friday night, it's anybody's game.
That's right. Friday night.
But so let's fast forward. So you have hung up your coaching whistle. You are stepping back as
literally and figuratively. I honestly, my son. I have a whistle that I basically retired. And my first couple years as a head coach, we won a league championship in 2006. It was my third year as a head coach, and the moms gave me a Acme Thunder, which is the best whistle out there if you guys are going to go buy a whistle. And it was engraved with a 2006 league championship. I've used that whistle ever since. And this year I got my son a 2022 state championship whistle, an Acme Thunder, that hopefully I can pass that off to him, and we're going to go out on top.
Awesome. So let's take a ride through history. So you went to Atascadero,
yes,
right?
I did.
Played football in Atascadero.
Mm-hmm.
And fast forward, in 2000, you came on as an assistant coach.
So I actually coached JV football 88, 89, and 90,
okay,
I believe. Some of those years. I graduated in 86. I coached JV football. Coach Welsh was looking for coaches. I had just come back from college and was kind of transitioning from where I started to going to go to Cuesta the next year. And Larry Welsh called my dad and said, "Hey, what's he doing?" And he said, "Get him off my couch." And so I started coaching some JV football back in the day. And then I finished my college career at Fresno State, and then came back in 94 was my first year back. It was Coach Loney's junior year, and I was coaching varsity offensive line at that point in time, and I haven't gone back since.
Wow, so you have been 30 years, right? 30 years.
Yeah, something like that, yeah, 30 plus, I think.
30 years. So what was it like? Obviously, Coach Welsh had just a dynasty, back in the 80s and the 90s. Well known, at one point, I think he had the best record in California history as a head coach for high school. But what was it like, filling those shoes when you took over the reins?
I kind of got let off the hook on that one. I really didn't fill in for Larry. Larry, when he went to Poly in 97, He had just finished 4 straight CIF championships. I was lucky enough to be involved in 3 of those. My younger brother played on the 93 team, so really I was heavily involved in all 4 of those years. And then there was a little spell where Larry was gone for a while before I had to take over. So, but the pressure was always there to kind of keep building on the house that Larry built, and Larry was the one that really started Atascadero Greyhound football. There was a lot of great football players and coaches before that, but Larry really brought everything to prominence, and everything I learned in football was through him. I mean, I've learned a lot since he left, but just playing for him and coaching for him, that's who made me the coach I am.
And what's it been like over this course of 30 years coaching at Atascadero Greyhounds in the stadium? I mean, it's one of the most notable high school stadiums in the state of California, right?
I love that place.
What has it been like? I mean, take me through from the time that you started up until this last season.
That's a long book.
That is a long book.
But, and honestly, it all started when I was a little kid. I'm a 4th, 5th, 6th grader. I'm living in Cresa Plains. My dad went to Atascadero High School, and he would bring me into the games on Friday night. I'd go tackle the kid that has the ball in the end zone during the game, and as a kid that didn't know any kids in Atascadero because I grew up out in Cresa Plains, I loved going down there and just playing tackle football. Pausing for a minute to watch Carlos Adams running at touchdowns, or Chet Smith,
old names.
Some of those guys, Dave Spur. It's just some of the old games, and as soon as they scored, we'd go back to playing tackle football. So it started early for me, and then of course I got to play for Larry. That was quite an honor, and then once I figured out that this was what I wanted to do, that Larry was great enough to take me on and trust me with the varsity offensive line, those 94, 95, 96, 3 CIF championships. That was incredible. And then at that point when Larry left, I really didn't feel like I was ready for anything like that. I was still pretty young, not only chronologically, but football-wise. And so going through the times where he wasn't there, and then getting the head coaching job was great. It was, Sam DeRose left the head coaching position to become the athletic director. Don Clickard, who was our athletic director at the time, it was one of his last acts to hire me as the head coach, and completely honored, and what a great time. I mean, I've had a really good time doing this.
And some of the athletes and the players that you guys have passed through at Atascadero, can you reflect on some of those? Can some of those names pop into your head?
Well, there's too many to probably do, and I'd hate to forget someone, but I mean that's really what it's all about. What we do, it's for me. I mean, I don't love the fundraising. Honestly, I love doing your interviews, but I don't like having to do the media stuff, and
we appreciate that.
Well, no, you guys doing a great job, by the way. I appreciate what you do, and it's an evil we have to do to get the stuff out about the kids and the coaches that we're coaching with, and that's what keeps you going, is the kids, the coaches. I love the X's and O's. I love watching film. Super excited to see where we're going from here.
So what about any rituals? Did you have any rituals as a head coach, game day, date the night before, anything that you like? You had to wear
this. Go back to playing days where my shimmel, back in the day we had the cutoff shirt, would hang in my varsity locker, and by the time we got through 2 days, you'd pull it off the hook and it would stand up by itself. There were definitely guys that would not wash their stuff for a whole season. I was never really into that, to be honest with you. But when I became the head coach, I kind of made it an effort to not have any rituals. One word, superstition is probably the other. I tried not to have any superstitions at that point because it just drives you crazy. You know, hey, we lost last week. Okay, I got to change different socks this week and different those things. You know, the rituals were really something that I tried to avoid once I became the head coach because I knew it would drive me nuts. And lo and behold, it turned into not having any superstitions became my superstition. So I felt like, you know, we'd win that week. Okay, I got to change everything. I got to do a whole bunch of stuff different.
That's easy, huh?
In the end, all that stuff it really has nothing to do with the game as much as we'd like to think it does. But I think the routine of what you do is definitely, my family was definitely into it, and they made sure I was in the same routine every week. And that stuff is true as far as succeeding and whatnot, that you want to try to keep everything the same so that everybody kind of knows what's going to happen as we lead up to game 1 or game 2 or game 3 or game 4, as we know it's going to happen this way every week. So
what is one of your memorable games that you can remember from the past that sticks with you?
One. I mean,
the battles with Atascadero and Paso.
You can go. Most recently, have beaten Paso this year and going undefeated in the regular season. You can go back, obviously, to the state championship run last year, which was remarkable, phenomenal, just crazy, unbelievable. I still didn't believe it after it happened.
And Vic, with that, it's not even just a regular game. Not only did you have to battle another team coming up for the state championship game, you had rain, you had mud, you had Mother Nature just roaring down on you.
I think at that point of last year, of the 2022 season, we had faced so much adversity already that it was just kind of known that, okay, here's our bit of adversity this week. We're going to fight through this. Okay, how are we going to do it? And when we got, starting 0-3, all the deficits we had in the first half and came back in the second half, the playoff run there, and what nobody really knows is that, and we're going in the CIF championship game, and it's a Wednesday, and we've got guys that are coming out of their beds for an hour and a half, 2 hours to get what they need to know, and then go crawling back into bed because we had so many guys that were ill. We just had some sicknesses going through. And then literally to the point where we're having our pregame meetings on Friday night of the CIF championship game, and we've got to ask kids, okay, are you ready to go? Are you ready to go? And every single kid stepped up. None of them were feeling great, and just managed to pull it off, gut it out.
And what a ride! If you were to just look back in your 30 years of just all the hurdles and the ups and downs, and
I'm not going to get political, but it was a lot of BS and a lot of just be up front with us and tell us when we're going to get to play. I mean, we spent that whole off season prior to that going, okay, are we going to be able to have summer weights, summer passing tournaments? That didn't happen. We've got kids working out on their own, sending us videos of them working out so we know they're working out. And then, every step of the way, the high school coaching community in California did an incredible job of lobbying, and I hate the word lobbying, but lobbying for high school football coming back. But to the point where, we could start in August, but we couldn't start anything real. And then all of a sudden, September, we could have pods and little groups, and all the kids had to move in a certain direction, and then they thought it was going to start in September, and then they told us, oh, it's definitely going to happen in January, and then January came and went and wasn't happening. We were ready. We had schedules ready.
Just a weird time.
To get to do it at the end was great, but the harassment you had to go through to get there was
But that's the dedication as a coach And like I always tell everybody, football is like no other sport out there. I mean, it's not just, one guy hitting home runs or any of that kind of stuff. I mean, it's literally, 11 guys on the offense, 11 guys on the defense. You have 11 guys on the special teams, and you have the whole rest of the team that contributes to it too. So, and along with the coaching staff. So it's an all in. You can't be halfway in. And you guys did a great job. Atascadero has always had, phenomenal coaching, phenomenal kids, that just come out of the woodworks, and you guys are able just to really make football players, out of these kids. So that's hats off to you guys as well over there.
Now that was, the kids are always resilient, they're young, but it's always amazing how much they're willing to work and how much they're willing to put in to go out there on that Friday night. So once it happened, I mean, we did everything we could to make sure those kids had every chance they had to play. And so you look at those kids that had to go through that, it's crazy. And they, that those seniors that graduated last year, they were deep into that. And I appreciate them for really sucking it up and having to go through that and realizing there was still some light at the end of the tunnel.
Now, Atascadero obviously has many CIF championships, right? Is this the only state championship that Atascadero holds?
I believe so, but that's really just because there was no such thing as a state championship back then in most sports. You could have track kids go get a state championship in the shot put or the pole vault or something like that, but as far as team sports, that's really come up lately. They used to have the bowl games back in the mid 2000s to upper 2000s, whenever they started those, but those weren't really playoffs. They pick and chose teams to come and participate in those, so we really never thought of that, and so it wasn't something that was on our radar. Hey, let's go win a state championship. For us, it was always about getting back to the CIF championship, and then once they made the call and said, "Hey, you got to go play a state game too," that we were up for it.
And you guys dominated.
We had a good run. I mean, we had a bunch of resilient kids, and they did a freaking amazing job.
So, Coach, now you have you've hung up your whistle,
My
right?
whistle literally hung it up.
Literally, it is hung up. And so the next, as you're preparing to retire, did you already have somebody in mind? Your recommendation to somebody to take over your position?
Well, yeah, there was a guy that was with us as a player and was with us as a coach as well, and then he got a great opportunity at Templeton High School. I think we know who we're talking about, but and he was at a couple of different schools after that, but I was at a ceremony where we were inducting him to our Athletic Hall of Fame, and our former athletic director, who was a school board member at the time, as he's sitting up there, he's talking to me about probably the loss we had the night before, because I had to go on Saturday to go represent the program. And he said, "Well, what can we do to help you?" And I just kind of pointed up at the podium and said, "Get that guy hired." Within a year, Mr. Clickard had helped make that happen. I don't think he could actually just flip the switch and say it's going to happen. And so Danny got hired back at the middle school for a little bit. When a job opened up at the high school, we got him back up there, and it's been the plan since then that he would take over. I don't get to make those kind of choices, and neither does he, but I think the school district was smart enough to realize what we had right there on campus, and now he's the new head coach.
And Coach, what does that mean to you as the next head coach coming in was your player, one of your players that you coached back in the day, and then most recently your assistant coach. Mm-hmm. Now you're passing the baton to him. What does that feel like?
That's pretty cool. I mean, I would hate to have walked away not knowing what was coming in, and so I think that the fact that it was a little bit hand chosen. I mean, when I called Danny and said, hey, we might be able to get you a job at the middle school. Do you want to come back? I told him right then and there that, hey, my son's graduating in 2024. Said 2023 will be my last season. Come on, become the OC, and if I have anything to say about it, we're just going to hand it over to you. I think everybody in the room believed that he should be the guy, and I'm glad that it came out that way, because there's some things that could have happened. There could have been
some
absolutely. Principals or administrators that said, no, we gotta go open it up and go. I'm glad that it had happened the way it did.
And one last question, one last question before we go into commercial, which we're gonna bring Dan on in the second half here. But knowing that you're coaching, you've hung up your whistle, you coached, you yelled at that one last game. What does that feel like? Inside you, what does that feel like?
Honestly, the part of it that I've left all the head coaching duties behind me feels really good. Showing up for our first day of the semester yesterday, and I wasn't in charge of anything in our football weights class. That felt pretty good. I'm looking forward to not being in charge of a lot of those head coaching things. But I'll be back if he'll have me. I'm going to take a full year off, and if he'll have me, I'll go coach some lower level. I'll come be an assistant coach. I'll help in whatever way I can. I don't think I can just walk away, but I'm happy to walk away from the head coaching stuff.
Well, like I said, Vic, you had an amazing run. You had an amazing, record. 126 and 96.
That's everybody seems to know that. I have no idea.
127. 127.
Yeah.
127. You obviously upped Paso at War Memorial. So, like I said, hats off to you. Again, a coach's job is a thankless job, and I just want to say thank you for what you did for the program, for the kids. And those kids sometimes are, you're that mentor, you're that father figure. So
I appreciate that, and I appreciate everybody that's come out and thanked me for that. A lot of times you think it's a very thankless job, and most of the time while it's going, there's not a lot of people going out of their way to tell you you're doing a great job. Most everybody's coming out of their, going out of their way to tell you you're doing a crappy job. But
right. That's the head coach for you.
From the school, our athletic department, our administration. It's been a great month or so, and I'm hoping this is kind of the end of the, hey, great job. Let's get into Danny Loney era.
Well, like I said, you will go down in history as one of the greats there at Atascadero High School, following the footsteps of Coach Larry Welsh.
Yeah, that might be an over-exaggeration.
Well,
I'll take it.
Out of 70 years, you and Coach Welsh, hold the majority.
A lot of years.
So let's go to commercial, and we're going to bring the new head coach of the Atascadero Greyhounds on board.
Thank you.
So we will be right back with Coach Dan Loney.
Hi, welcome to Kennedy Club Fitness, where we have something for everyone. We have weights, cardio, group exercise classes, racquetball, basketball, swimming, and pickleball coming soon. Here at Kennedy, we're committed to health, wellness, and community. Stop by any of our 4 locations: Paso Robles, Atascadero, San Luis Obispo, and Arroyo Grande, or check out our website at kennedyclubs.com.
We don't just serve it up, we roast it, distill it, brew it, craft it, crank it, bake it, make it, perfect it, cure it, paint it, live it, breathe it, and then we serve it up, all in Atascadero.
Welcome back to What's Up North County, our new locker room segment. And we are bringing into the studio right now, we have the new head coach of the Atascadero Greyhounds. We have Dan Loney in studio. Dan, welcome.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, so what an awesome honor to come back to Atascadero.
It's been crazy, kind of a wild ride, and it's exciting. It's a new chapter, and looking forward to it.
And so let's take a step back in your history, because I mean you're Atascadero alumni, born and raised in Atascadero, right?
Raised in Atascadero. Well, I was born in LA, but came up fairly early.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you went through school, played in Atascadero, right?
Yes.
And then you graduated from there to a full ride to Cal Poly.
Yes.
Right? So tell me about going back into the 90s of playing, under Larry Welsh. I mean, that was the godfather, of Atascadero football and coaches. I mean, he was known everywhere in high school football. So tell me about that.
I mean, I guess at the time you don't realize the magnitude, gravity of an influence that he had on the community. You knew he was the head coach. You knew he was super successful. But you don't realize it until you get older of what it takes and how successful he was and how cool it was to be under him and to learn from him at that age.
And so we jump through there. You go off to Cal Poly, and you played the 4 years there at Cal Poly as a Mustang, obviously, right?
Uh-huh.
You're there. You're doing your thing. You played with some amazing players. You played with Loud. You played with, I think, 3 or 4 players that went to either the NFL or the Canadian Football League,
uh-huh.
right? And so from there, you graduate Cal Poly, and then you're thinking you're going into the NFL draft. What was that experience like?
It was weird. It was, I had a pretty good junior year. Going into my senior year, and you had some scouts kind of coming around and talking and doing that sort of thing and interviewing you and going through pro day and stuff like that, and you're thinking, okay, have a decent season, and you're hoping that something rolls around, and it just kind of never did, and so probably didn't have the best senior season. I tell kids sometimes, not to take for granted what you have at times. Don't let it waste away, because, that senior season, I kind of go in as a 4-year starter, going to be a 4-year starter, and maybe didn't work as hard as I probably should have going into that senior year. And so, now that I get older and a little bit more wiser, you realize the opportunities that you let slip through sometimes.
And so obviously you didn't go into the draft. You were obviously a little disappointed, thinking that maybe there was a chance or whatever. But you get drafted, or how does that work to the SaberCats?
Yeah, well, it was kind of a weird thing. So the draft goes through. Obviously I know I'm not going to go first day. You're hoping maybe late 5th, 6th round. Nothing comes through. You're waiting by the telephone. Nothing comes through. You're calling your agent, doing, what's happening. He goes, we kind of knew you're going to be late. Now we're just hoping that you get maybe picked up as a free agent. That night goes by, nothing. Next night goes by, nothing. A week kind of goes by, nothing happens. And so at the time, Coach Welsh was my college coach at the time. And I had still had about a semester and a half left in school. And so he goes, hey, I would like you to come back as a graduate assistant. We can't give you a full ride, but we can at least pay for your tuition. And so, so he did me, again, another solid and brought me back, and I would GA'd for a graduate assistant for Cal Poly for a year. And I did that. During my time at Cal Poly, my O-line coach ends up getting a job for the Arena League in San Jose. And so he gives me a call and says, hey, are you still interested? At the end of that 2000 season, are you interested in still playing? And I, yeah, hell yeah, let's, you miss it. And so I went up for a tryout and 3-day tryout, went up and did all that stuff. And, a day later they said, hey, we would like you to come up.
Really?
Go through camp, yeah.
And so, back then, the Arena Football League was relatively new, wasn't it?
It had been around like kind of early 80s, mid 80s. It had been around at the time I played in the 2000s, early 2000s to 2010. It had been the second longest running league, professional league, football league in the United States, next to the NFL, because Canadian Football League came in for, 4 years or so, and then tried to take a dive into the United States, but then went back. And so it had been going on for 25 years when I was playing there. Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
It feels like that time was like the peak of the Arena League when you were playing, though. It was on TV, and the Arena Bowl championships were
probably is it just a little bit more publicized.
Yeah.
Like anything, social media now, everything's like what?
Yeah, it definitely was probably at its peak at that point.
So what was that experience like? So you were a professional, semi-professional. What? How did you classify that? Was it professional, semi-professional?
I still consider it professional.
Okay.
I mean, we got
Definitely
paid.
professional.
We got paid well. Not NFL money, but we got paid enough where I didn't have to have a real job in the off season. I was able to sub because it was opposite of NFL, so it was during the springtime.
Right.
So I was able to substitute teach in the off season, coach, and I was able to kind of bounce back and forth between coaching high school football and then doing the Arena League.
And comparing high school to college to arena football, obviously arena football is a shorter field, more narrower field, shorter, narrower field goals, and it's played a little bit different than regular football. So tell me the transition between regular football to arena football.
It's football's football. It's running, tackling, throwing, passing. Blocking. It's all the same. You don't have linemen. You don't win. You don't win. Yeah. And so, just the little nuanced rules that we had when I first came into that league. They called it the Ironman League, meaning that you had to do all three facets of the game. You had to play offense, you had to play defense, and you had to be on special teams. So you're running down on kickoffs. You had to transition over. There were only 2 players that weren't allowed to do that, and that was the quarterback and then 1 offensive player. So you had guys going both ways.
Wow.
So if you came out of a quarter, you weren't allowed to go back in that quarter. So there were some games.
Injury or anything?
Yeah, injury. So there were some games where, a guy in front of you went down. You played the whole game.
Wow.
I had one game where I think out of a 60-minute game, I played like 56 minutes of that game because center went down, backup center went down, and there was nobody else. So it was just go.
Wow, that is something I didn't even know existed.
So, yeah, and then when the NFL stepped in and kind of made it their developmental league, they kind of changed the rules to only going one side of the ball or not. So then there were more specialty guys. So then we started getting just offensive guys and then just defensive guys. So that kind of changed the game up a little bit.
And so some of the players that you played against and or with, with your professional stint with the SaberCats, can you think of any of those, names that went off to somewhere and, used the Arena League as a stepping stone?
Yeah, we had a guy that played at Fresno State, Garrett McIntyre. We had a lot of guys in the NFL that we called kind of tweener guys that weren't quite big enough, weren't quite fast enough, and so they needed like that extra stepping stone, some of the extra film, and so he was kind of one of those tweener guys. He played D-line at Fresno State, came and played defensive end for us, and then went on and played in Canada for 2 or 3 years, and then ended up playing with the Jets as an outside linebacker. So he kind of transitioned from a D-end to a 3-4 stand-up outside linebacker, and I ended up playing 3-4 years there. So we had another receiver, I'm blanking on his name, I can see his face, But from San Jose State, same thing. He played for the Chicago Bears for about 8 years after the Arena League. And it was interesting that he started off as a defensive back for him, and then he really made his name, though, switching over to playing a slot receiver, and that's where he kind of earned his money there. So
Dan, at what point during your career with the SaberCats did you think about, okay, what does it take for me to get to the next level, or like this is it for me? I'm getting to that point, starting family. I need to start thinking about my career.
That was kind of easy. Like I always wanted to take that next step, and for me, the Arena League turned into my NFL. Like I treated it as such. I worked out hard. I did everything to try to be the best guy I could. Like we talked about, it was always in the back of my head that I didn't want to let what happened in my senior year of my college happen during that Arena League. So that was always kind of pushing me, is that I didn't want to let that happen again. So, but one of the regrets I've always had is the Arena League was comfort. I felt good there. I had coaches that believed in me, and I never really pushed the issue to go and try out for an NFL team. And so one of the regrets I have is not doing that. But with the Arena League, right around 2008, basically our salaries outgrew the revenue we were bringing in. So they had to shut it down for a couple years to kind of redo the salary cap and kind of figure out everything. And so that kind of told me at that point, like, hey, yeah, that was my decision at that point. So that was my 9th year in the league, and so it was, boom, I was done. And so
wow. So just like Coach Cooper, with being a head coach as a player with the SaberCats, obviously you have 3 national championships, right?
Yeah, 3 championships with the SaberCats. Yeah. So
tell me about that. Tell me about that feeling.
It was great. Honestly, the first one, I was on the team. I didn't get a lot of playing time, but I was there. And then the second one, I was, because we were still going both ways, we were sharing time, and it's an awesome feeling. It's hard to explain. It's, unless you're in there and been a part of it, and the blood, sweat, and tears that you put together with all those guys that you battle with every day, it's a really, really cool feeling at the end.
Awesome. Well, let's fast forward. So come back to the North County, have a stint through Templeton, have a stint through Paso, go back to Atascadero, and here you are sitting as the next head coach for the Atascadero Greyhounds.
Yeah, it's, like I said, it's, the ride is always, you never know where it's going to take you. And, I've been at a lot of places. I was out in the Valley for 3 years coaching at Porterville High School, and came back and had my first teaching job at Templeton. And every place I went to, I think has really shaped and molded me and showed me things that to do and not to do, and it was just kind of it was a learning experience. Everything was a good learning experience.
So looking back, now we have, the retiring head coach, we have the new head coach. So at some point, conversation had to happen, whether it was when you came on, because you came on last year as an assistant with Atascadero, correct? Or when I say last year, I mean 2 years ago in 2021.
It was during the COVID?
It was
before
prior,
COVID.
2019, right? 2018,
Something like
2019.
that, yeah.
Okay. So 2019, between 2019 and 2023 till now, conversation, what was that conversation like? Did Coach Vic say, hey, Dan, I want you to take over this team. I'm going to be looking at getting out of here in a few years. What was that conversation like?
There was, he would mention things here and there. And
we can't say that I offered him the job at that point in time, for sure.
But you were grooming him. You were prepping him.
There was no grooming needed. It was just a matter of when I was ready to be done, I think. But it was definitely in the conversation because he took a big risk to leave Paso, where he was a tenured teacher, and come to Atascadero and take a middle school job with the thinking he's teaching middle school PE into thinking that he's eventually going to be up at the high school and the head coach. But it was definitely in the conversation. It was definitely in the package that I offered him coming back. A huge package of high school football stipends.
Right?
Yeah.
It was one of those things where he'd kind of bring it up. It's all right. Like, I'm not here. This is just, let's just try to make this season as successful as possible type of thing.
And so how does that feel, Dan? I mean, literally, you have come through the system, past the system, moved on from the system, and now you're back as the head of the system. I mean, what's that feeling like?
It feels good. One, that to hear Coach Cooper say that, that he not like picks me, but, wants me to follow in his footsteps, I guess, and is willing to lay the program that he worked so hard for to hand over to me. It's an honor. And it's a weight on my shoulders that I don't want to let him down, let Coach Welsh down, let the community down. So it's exciting, but also kind of a lot of weight on the shoulders right now.
Yeah, because, you're taking the reins over from a history of great coaches. You got history there.
Well, there's always that saying that you never want to take over after a great coach because all you can do is mess up. So, but I'm looking forward to the challenge and looking forward to it. So,
Dan, when you played in high school and you played for Coach Cooper, what was Coach Cooper like as a coach? What are you going to take away and do like him?
I was young.
Or not do as he was a coach?
It was, like you guys were talking about earlier, it was, one of his first coaching jobs. And so the way he coached back then is not how he coached now. But he still, what stood out is his personality. You knew he cared for you. You knew that he wanted the best for you. And the passion that he brought every day to practice was the same back then as he had, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And when you think of Atascadero and Greyhound football, you think of some of the things that stand in, that hasn't changed over the years. Your fourth quarter, what do you do at the fourth quarter? Hands go up, and that still remains for. I don't even know when that was started. Do you? Or why?
I started with Larry.
Was it?
Pretty much everything that seems like it's been around for a long time started with Larry. He definitely created a huge tradition. There is a lot of pressure to try to keep that going, and I think we've done a decent job. I don't think. To think you're going to reach Larry Welsh status is insane. But like I said earlier, he built this house, and we're here to keep trying to make improvements on it and keep it standing. So, the traditions are cool. There's still, you look at our pregame stuff, and a lot of people might look out there and think it's weird that we do our quick cows before games and the way we do our warm-ups and the fourth quarter. But that's what Atascadero football is. That's what Larry made it. And it means something. It's not just window dressing. And we talk to the kids about what this means, what the fourth quarter means, and it means you've worked harder all week, and that when it comes time and the game's tight in the fourth quarter, that your preparation is going to have you ready for that opportunity. And
what about that tradition? First day in pads, midnight practice. Tell me about that.
I wish I could give credit to Larry for that one.
That one is wild.
It was one of the things that just seemed really cool when I was a younger coach, and 1 year, I don't know, it was probably maybe halfway through, or I don't know how many years we've done it. And we had got some new uniforms, and the uniforms came in like 2 or 3 days before that first practice, so we turned it into a midnight madness. It's copying college basketball, because college basketball for a few years have been doing that, and we basically debuted our brand new jerseys with that group, which there was a couple of players that I let design the uniform, and it was fun, right? It was the first time you got to get in pads and hit each other. We had been running around all off season, all summer, all double days. We got to put on full pads for the first time. I think the first year we forgot to warn the neighbors, and the cops were coming out. And we go out there in the field and do a Atascadero spell out and do all our quick cows.
Midnight.
And we're loud, and we've got music cranking. And but it's been great. It's something that as a head coach, we talk about all the things that are not as much fun to do. Like, I don't look forward to trying to stay up till midnight anymore. I mean, but there's no way in heck the kids are going to let him not keep doing it. It's been a fun thing, and we get honest. We probably have 100 to 200 fans down there. You know, high school kids, cheerleaders, parents that come out and just hang out. They can watch the practice from the sidelines, and it's fun. It's fun.
And that's one of those traditions that, I mean, those are cool traditions.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at it, and I always say this, you know, in North County, we live in a completely different area. Yeah. You know, this area is so special, it's so unique, and you can't really put a definition on the North County when you're trying to explain to somebody where you're from. Yeah. Right? But, you know, in football terms, you can almost, you know, reference it to, gosh, what's the movie, Field of Lights,
Friday Night Lights.
Friday Night Lights. You know, kind of that football mentality. Your fans are probably the most. I mean, Templeton had to bring in extra stands when we played Atascadero. I mean, that's just how crazy. But that's the compassion. That's the passion that Atascadero fans, parents, you know, alumni, coaches, you know, they have, and you know, it shows. And so that's the only thing I could think of. You know, when you explain, you know, Atascadero football, you know, packed. Atascadero and Paso, I mean, there was standing room, you know, when you guys played. It was amazing. And so what does that mean to you guys? I mean, you as being a player and a coach, you as the head coach for the last 30 years, to look back and hear and see those stands, people no seats, down the side of the hill. I mean, what does that tell you?
It means we started something really, really cool 45 years ago. I think it was there before. I just don't think the town was that big. I really appreciate the last couple of years where we've had some larger than local success, and that it seems like the community and these, not just the ones that have been here since the 70s, since the 80s, you know, that have been doing it forever, but also the new fans, the people that, you know, it's a bad word, 4-letter word in the North County, the transplants that have come into Atascadero and embraced the football program and really hopped on the bandwagon. And I'm okay with saying that. You know, I want everybody to hop on the bandwagon. It's been pretty cool to see that tradition carried with the old folks, and we had people coming out of the woodworks in the last few years that have been here and done that. But on top of that, the newbies, for lack of a better word, that have embraced not just the football program, but the high school. And what's better than a one high school town where the city can kind of shut down for every once in a while and come support all the kids.
And Coach, I think you said it and you hit it on the head right there as far as that support, you know, whether you're Templeton, whether you're Paso, you know, when you guys played against, you know, Washington Union, I mean, I saw, you know, Atascadero, obviously, Atascadero Letterman jackets, Paso Letterman's jackets, Templeton Letterman's jackets. I mean, it was a mix of everything. At one point, because there were stands, people couldn't sit over the stands. People were sitting on the visitor side. Oh, yeah. They came over and got them and said, "You guys got to get over here in case it goes crazy." And this was at the beginning of the game because we were over there on that side, and the security guys came over and said, "Hey, let's get to the other side. You know, past the scoreboard area."
You know, it's good if it's overflow and they need to go over to the other sections. That's great. You know, I can remember many games, you know, looking up in the visitors' bleachers and there's opposing coaches and stuff like that. And we'll do the same thing if someone else is in a big game and we're done. You know, we're going to take a road trip and go find a game to play. So the game of high school football is just so so cool.
It's amazing.
I mean, it's just, there's nothing like it. I don't, you can watch the national championship game last night or the Super Bowl in a few weeks, and there's nothing like a good local high school football game.
Absolutely. So, Coach Loney, so what is your first? What's your first task? What are you doing? Are you keeping everything the same? Are you making a drastic change? Or?
No. Hey, it's not broken. Don't try to change it. So, I mean, our first task is, and I think Coach Coop will kind of attest to this, is get the kids strong, get them in the weight room. I mean, that was, we keep going back to Coach Welsh, but that's the honest truth is, your team's not built in August anymore. It's built in the weight room from January to the time you start in August. That's where you set your culture. That's where you find out who's really your players and who's really bought into what you're trying to accomplish as a group and as a team. And so, we started that today, and that's going to be our main point and emphasis as a team right now.
So Dan, yesterday. We're Tuesday. So is yesterday your official first day as the head coach? Is that?
I guess I don't know.
Yeah,
because school starts and. Congratulations.
As far as the kids, as far as the kids, I mean, for me officially, I felt like when the banquet was over, I just handed it over and that was it for me. But the kids knew. I mean, he's already done some things. We're refurbishing our weight room. We had one of the best weight rooms around, but it's going to be even better. We're in the process of fixing that up.
Gosh, what more can you do to that? I mean, that's an awesome weight room.
It's pretty nice, but we're stretching it out a little bit so that we can have, I don't know, for lack of a better word, gen ed, PE kids that can lift as well. So we've moved some stuff around, and it's all on Danny and our assistant principal, Jeff Spiller, who's played with Danny, that have kind of taken this to the next level. So that he's going to shortchange himself, but it might look the same, but he's definitely already starting to put his own stamp on it.
So, Coach, you guys have graduated a lot of seniors, a lot of key players, one being Kane Cooks, right? You graduated 8 to 12 seniors, I think, this year. I mean, and we're talking.
Tell you the number.
Don't count; it'll make you depressed.
We're talking seniors. I mean, we're talking starters. So, but you guys have a pretty healthy junior class coming up. One being your son, right?
No, my son is graduating. He's out.
He's graduating
out
this
of the
year.
Program, yeah.
Okay. One being your son.
My son, yes.
That's right. So your son is staying on that junior class. So obviously, each year it's you have to play what you got, your talent, and you play to those kids' talents. So who's going to take and fill some of those shoes?
That's the question, and that's part of this off season is seeing what kids are bought in and what kids are going to buy in and how they mold together. And that's kind of the cool thing about high school football is trying to get those kids to mold together and come together as a group. And every year, even though you have kids return, you have 2-year, 3-year starters. Every year is a new year because you lose kids. Kids' interests change. And so it's always a challenge to try to get those to mold together. And right now I think the kids are starting to feel that tradition where, hey, we can do this, and this is the blueprint that's set in front of us. And so there's a good handful of kids right now that have already bought in, and hopefully they can grab the reins and pull the other kids along with them.
Now, do you carry on that tradition as Coach Welsh did back in the day, walking around the campus and kind of recruiting kids into the locker room, to the football team?
We're going to have to.
We're probably a little less strong-armed than Larry was. Yeah. Larry would get on kids, and if they told him no, he didn't necessarily like them anymore. But we're definitely in a different generation. But, you got to recruit. It's still, and recruit on campus.
Right. Yeah, CIF, we're good. We're just doing it on campus.
But, I mean, Danny's going to benefit from the fact that he's in the PE department. He sees every freshman and sophomore walk through that locker room every day. So I'm sure he's going to get a few more kids out.
That's the hope. We'll see.
That's the goal.
I mean, what's some of the words that you would use, like to a kid that's never played football? He's coming in. He might be a junior. He might be a sophomore. I mean, what's some of those little words that you would use?
I don't know. I think it's one, it's just them getting to know me, and I think sometimes kids are scared, or they're, I don't know if scared is the right word, maybe nervous, apprehensive, kind of, because they've never done it before, and they hear us sometimes yelling or whatever. But I think once they get to know me, know Coach on the when we're not on the field, and they get to really know that we do care, that we do care about them, and that it's a little easier for them to kind of come out and give it a shot.
And when you think about the players that are moving on, the players that are coming in, and then obviously you have a freshman class coming in, at what point do you start moving the names around the chalkboard, right? Because you have the whole magnet board with the names and depth charts and all that stuff. So what is your ideal number for the varsity team coming into the season?
As many as you can get. I mean, last year we played with pretty much 26, 28. I think the magic number is somewhere around 35, I guess. You hope. 35 to 40, mid 40s would be great. You see some of those teams where you go, man, there's 60 kids out there. I wouldn't know what to do with 60 kids. You can only play 11 at a time. So, I think that magic number is somewhere around mid 30s, probably, you would hope to have on a varsity team.
And Dan, as you take over, is the coaching staff remaining, or do you have coaches that are retiring as well that's been with you for 30 years?
I think everybody's, no one's sent in their letter of resignation yet.
They haven't told me yet, so
Yeah.
I hope everybody's coming back. Right now I'm in the process of getting our calendar set, or kind of not set, but getting the kind of the basic calendars going. So when we have a coaches meeting, I can kind of put it out there, and then see who wants to come back and willing to come back. But
Now that they know I'm leaving, I think they'll all stick around now.
Well, I mean, obviously the success Atascadero's had in the last, several years, helps to keep that, that fire, burning, and that desire back. So
it's the coaches have, and I think that was one of the things that I don't think it's said enough, is that the chemistry between the coaches.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of knew where their spot was, where their strengths were, and Coach, he did a fantastic job of kind of fostering that and letting that go. I think that's one of the hardest things that I think sometimes head coaches have, is kind of allowing their assistant coaches to be who they are. And he let us go and reined us in when we needed to, but it was fun to go out at practice, and I think that feeds onto the kids, is when the coaches are having a good time, that the kids are going to have a good time as well. And it was a good group of coaches these last couple of years.
Football's hard, man, and if you're not having some kind of fun out on a football practice field, man, it's a dredge, man. And there's been years where I've had coaches that I didn't trust, and there's been years I had players I didn't necessarily like, but man, it's great. It's a great gig when you get coaches that you get along with, that you like hanging out with. We hang out outside of practice and football as well, and you get kids that you can trust and you really like. There's nothing better. It's fun.
Well, right on, guys. Well, like I said, I really appreciate you guys coming on the show. Atascadero football, any football. I love talking football. We could go on for hours.
Yeah.
And I know, Coach Loney's going back to the wrestling, which he starts the wrestling program, which is awesome. But one thing I can't leave without finding out. So your wife coaches in Paso, right?
Yeah, she teaches in Paso. She's not coaching anymore.
She's
but
not?
She's a teacher now in Paso, yeah.
Because I was just wondering how that worked when Atascadero and Paso played against each other.
There was, first year I moved over, she was still coaching Paso cheer and stunt, and so being
She's the best around, by the way.
Yeah, for sure.
She's nails.
She's the best coach in the county. But We cheered each other on until it was that weekend, and then it got that week.
Then you guys separated, different rooms.
Yeah, different rooms.
Everything.
We didn't talk. Yeah. So, and then afterwards, we went back to normal. So,
Awesome.
But yeah, it was cool, and it was kind of fun.
Don't let him fool you. She is a Greyhound, so
Yeah.
Right?
she just happens to be working in Paso now.
Awesome. Well, Coach, any last words?
No, just, hey, thanks to you guys for doing this, not just with football and sports and stuff, but everything you're doing. And thank you, Atascadero, for letting me do this for so long. I'll see you on the sidelines pretty soon.
Awesome. Coach Dan?
Hey, yeah, this is awesome. This is the first time being in here, and this is top notch and really, really cool thing just to be a part of, and looking forward to
sign
this.
your contract for the Greyhound Hour
Right.
later on.
Yeah, I'm totally looking forward to that. So, like I said, we'll get Sam in here as well. We'll go to the gym, the locker room, or the weight room, like we did with Coach Cooper, and have some
come
fun.
up with a cool name like the Crow's Nest, though. I'm not sure we.
No, we got the dog pound.
Oh, you got the dog.
Yeah,
pound.
we got the
That's
dog
cool.
pound.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, so our show here
We're
is the
good.
locker room.
Right.
So that way we can have sports and
There
different
you
sports.
go.
But when we come to Atascadero, we are in the dog pound.
Perfect.
So that's where we're
Perfect.
at. We'll just have to figure out the lights and keep the lights on. so maybe that could be your first task.
I don't know about that. That's way out of my.
Maybe in
grade,
the office or something. But you put some back screen up or something. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we look like something out of Scooby-Doo with just the eyeballs.
I'm always telling him, I say, whatever you need, let me know what you want me to do, and eventually he's going to give me a bunch of jobs. So
Awesome. Well, Coach, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
As we've already said, you have an excellent, great success. You are leaving, the legacy to Coach Loney, which,
not gonna miss a beat, man. It's gonna go up from here.
And Dan, you got some. So Coach Cooper, 30 years. Coach Welsh, 35.
He coached for a long time.
Something like that. So so hopefully you let your wife know that the next 30 years.
Shoot, I'll be gone by then.
Well, awesome, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it, Dan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Congratulations, Coach. Congratulations on the
Thank you.
success that you've had. Congratulations on your retirement. How brief that might be.
How brief that might be.
We will find out soon, but nevertheless, enjoy your retirement while it lasts.
I appreciate it.
Well, there you have it, guys. Thanks for tuning in to our locker room segment here with the Atascadero Greyhounds, Coach Vic Cooper, and new head coach Dan Loney as he takes the reins over from a great success from the last 30 years of Coach Cooper. But as always, guys, we can't do this without you and our sponsors. We'd like to thank Escalar Wines, Wine Travelers Hideaway, Rancho Sestero Meat Cutting, Visit Atascadero, 805 Customs, El Red Rooster, Pacific 805 Spas, Hanson Enterprises, 5-Star Rain Gutters, Airflow Filter Services, Kennedy Club Fitness, Borhone Auto Center, and of course, Story Termite and Pest Control, guys. Thanks again. We'll see you on the gridiron.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Hi, welcome to Kennedy Club Fitness, where we have something for everyone. We have weights, cardio, group exercise classes, racquetball, basketball, swimming, and pickleball coming soon. Here at Kennedy, we're committed to health, wellness, and community. Stop by any of our 4 locations: Paso Robles, Atascadero, San Luis Obispo, and Arroyo Grande, or check out our website at kennedyclubs.com.
We don't just serve it up, we roast it, distill it, brew it, craft it, crank it, bake it, make it, perfect it, cure it, paint it, live it, breathe it, and then we serve it up. All in Atascadero.
Hi, this is Dave Story, small game hunter with Story Termite and Pest. We're a full-service termite and pest control company. From rodents to termites, we can take care of all your pest control needs. Call today, we can tailor a pest control program that will meet your needs and budget. Contact us at 805-460-0650 or at storytermite.com. Remember, we don't have customers, we have friends.